we're going to move on to F1 Academy. We had 3 races, a lot of safety cars, a lot of good racing.
Yes.
But also one of the races finishing with a safety car. But let's start off with race 1 that happened on Saturday.
Yes.
Let's do it.
So this weekend, they were, of course, racing in Montreal. They were making up the one race that was canceled in Miami on their last round. So I'm really happy that they got the opportunity to add a 3rd race this weekend. They had another wild card this weekend as well, which was Matilda Patz from Germany. She was racing in the Gatorade livery. Also great opportunity for her to have 3 races.
Yeah,
Usually you just have
absolutely.
2 races as a wild card. So there's a little bit of extra time on the track for people to see you and for maybe an opportunity for you to make a good impression to next year join the grid full time.
Spoiler alert, or we're going to talk about it anyways. It's just she ended up DNFing 2 out of the 3 races, which is so unfortunate because technically, speed-wise, she has been the most competitive wild card that we've seen. In the second race, the reverse grid, she was actually technically, if this would have been a regular race, she would have been within points, I think, contention. So it's very unfortunate, but both races she ended up DNFing.
Or 2 out of the 3,
both races that she ended up not finishing was also unforced errors. The first race, she ended up driving over the sausage curb, and then in a car like that, you unfortunately then become a passenger.
Yeah.
And then she just straight into
Hit
wall
the wall of
afterwards.
champions,
Exactly. And
which is also close. It was closer to the end.
Yes.
And she was doing so well. So
because she was also racing someone at that point,
Yeah.
right? So if she would have maybe made that corner, she would have maybe been able to make an overtake. Because the cool thing on this track, which I thought was that in the F1 Academy cars, you got so much slipstream.
Yes.
So there was a lot of pace that we're able to make up, and there was a lot of racing they were able to do. One person that I really want to talk about before we get into the races is, I think, the biggest loser of this whole weekend, Maya Weug. Going into the weekend, leading the championship by 1 point, and then being plagued by car trouble and engine troubles. That her team also had a really hard time figuring out what was wrong, which I also thought is very interesting because they're all racing in the same car, just different setups. And then also, this is the first time we had a situation like this.
Yeah.
Where the team wasn't able to figure out what was with the car, and then it's essentially ruined her whole weekend.
It was so heartbreaking. In the first race, she ended up going into the pits several times because they were literally trying to figure out what it was. They sent her back out, do another lap. She came back in. They were doing some more tweaks, which is, it's just heartbreaking. So her qualifying times were not great.
No.
So she didn't start in her usual front. And so she only finished 2 of the races, but only scored points in the very last race. Just because of her placement. But it also shows, she is an excellent driver because she did make up 10 places in the last race, which is obviously excellent.
Yeah.
So, but going to the beginning. So going into this weekend was Chloe Chambers' birthday weekend. She turned 21 on Saturday. She also had an excellent qualifying weekend. Both Red Bull drivers, Chloe Chambers for the Red Bull Ford, and then Alicia Palmovsky with the other Red Bull or Red Bull Honda. Also excellent. Both of them top qualifying times. So going into the races, those seemed to be the 2 women to beat. The cool thing was, since we had 3 races this weekend, the first race and the last race were full point races. And then the middle race, the second race on Saturday, was where they did the reverse grid, where they also just did less points because of the reverse grid.
Which also, once again, is so devastating for Maya. That the weekend where you can get all of these extra points, which her number 1 opponent in the championships ended up really
doing
capitalizing
well.
on. Is the weekend that she has all these car troubles. Because I saw also in the YouTube comments, people were really upset for her because it's we want her to battle it out for the championship on track.
Yes,
and not
100%.
to lose because of something. If she would have crashed and would have been Maya, that's on you. But because it's something that you have no control over, it's so frustrating. And then they only have so few race events throughout the season. It just has such a big impact immediately on the driver standing. But so going into the first race, we had both of the Red Bull drivers on the front of the grid, and they immediately started battling it out. It was
especially, I mean, all 3 races were really, really fun to watch. I highly recommend going. I recommend you going into it and watching it, especially.
I think 1 and 2 more than 3.
Yes, I was literally just going to say that. The first and the second race, we watched also on a mini screen while having Le Mans on the big screen. And there was so much fun, so much great on-track battling. I mean, across the field, the front, like I said, the first 2, the Red Bulls battling, they ended up getting a little bit too close to each other.
Yeah, Alicia unfortunately hit Chloe and it ended up really taking both of them out of contention for points.
Exactly, which was a little bit of a bummer. But we still had some really great battling on track. We did have, originally we had Doriane Pont, she won. Ella Lloyd came in second. And then originally Emma Felbermeier, the Austrian, came in third. However, she ended up being disqualified for being underweight by 0.4 kilograms. So 400 grams, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah, 400 grams. It's like you
it's so
probably
frustrating.
In your mind, you're like, oh, fuck, on the outlap, I should have probably picked up a little bit more rubber, right? A little bit more of this because 400 grams, what is that?
Yes.
You know, it was like, just like drink a little bit more water. I don't know, fuck. It's so annoying, dude.
It's so frustrating because it was really nice to. She did an excellent race, especially her also being a rookie, with very little or no single seater experience really. So it was. We were fans of her, so we were rooting for her. So it was a little bit of a bummer. So Nida Gaiman or Gademan ended up being promoted to 3rd place.
Leah Block having her best finish of the season so far in 4th.
Yes, which is really, really nice to see because we had really high expectations going into this season.
Yeah.
For Leah, unfortunately,
she's been really struggling.
Has been a little bit, hasn't quite worked out in her favor yet. But I mean, the season's not over yet.
And then I think one of the standout performers this weekend was also Alba Larsen coming in 5th. Alba has been doing incredibly well.
Yes,
and she's also
16 years old.
Yeah, for someone who's like young and doesn't have that much experience, she has been racing really, really well on grid.
Yes, and she has these really beautiful overtakes, also in places where you wouldn't necessily think somebody would overtake, but she does it beautifully. She does it cleanly. She also is really good at avoiding trouble. You know, she gets really, really close, but never or rarely too close. Which is really fun. But I think one other top contender for this weekend or top driver for this weekend is the McLaren driver, Ella Lloyd.
Yes.
McLaren driver. She apparently is being coached by Abby Pulling, last season's winner, which is really nice. She's Welsh. And she's...
both of them for Rodin Motorsport.
Yes, exactly. And she placed on the podium for all 3 races. Second for all 3 of those races, which... is huge in terms of points.
Yes.
She's now 4th in the overall championship, which is, I mean, she made up a lot over this weekend. I mean, she did some really beautiful racing. Again, really great battling. I think the last race... Well, let's talk about the second race first before we get into this last race.
The reverse grid obviously favors people that are qualifying a little bit further on the back.
So the top... the top... 8 are reversed based on their qualifying results.
Exactly. However, I think also the stand-up performance for the second race was our girl Emma Felbermeier, because she started in 3rd or 4th, I think. She didn't start from the front.
No, yeah.
From the front, it was Chloe Chong and...
I think it was Nina Gateman or Gademan.
And then Emma was able to drive through the front, snatch up P1, and then she was able to defend it also, it wasn't an easy race because you did also have a safety car restart, so you have to time that right.
Yes.
And at the end, in the last corner, she did cut it a little bit, but she didn't have any track cutting, track infringements? Track limits before, so it was fine, and she didn't end up getting penalized for it because I guess the stewards thought that she didn't gain an advantage over it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think even if she would have not cut it, I don't think Ella would have been able to pass her.
I agree.
Because this was literally the last corner and she was far enough ahead.
Yes.
So she was able to get P1, which was a huge redemption for getting disqualified from the first race just a couple hours prior.
Yes, literally just a couple hours prior, because they had raced that same morning,
also,
race 1.
Real quick, talking about the race 1, after they finished the race 1, she gets out of her car and Lewis Hamilton congratulates her for getting P3, and you can tell that she was so surprised.
Yes.
Because Lewis was there. He was there for race 1 because it was, I think, far enough ahead before qualifying started.
Yes.
So he congratulated all the top 3. And then she was like, you can tell that she was surprised to see fucking Lewis Hamilton hanging out.
She had her helmet on and stuff, but you could tell from the body language.
Yeah.
One, it was a big surprise. I mean, it's also Lewis fucking Hamilton.
Yeah, because like he went and shook her hand, and then she was like, "Oh my god!"
And she's like,
it's like, I mean, fair. I would have the same reaction.
I mean, 100%. So that was that was definitely a nice bonus. I think to one, landing on the podium, and then 2, that. But yeah, race 1 and 2 were excellent. Lots of great on-track battles. Race 3 was a little bit of a little messy.
A little messy, right?
Yes.
So the good thing is Chloe was able to get off of the front very, very well. However, Alicia and her ended up getting together again almost.
No, because
Alicia got together with Ella.
Yes.
Right. So Alicia's been a little bit at her elbows out too much. Yes. This time around, it was more of a racing incident. They were just both driving on the edge. And then in this case, Ella was able to get away kind of scot-free.
Yes.
The McLaren has been just lucky this weekend.
And then Dorian also, she
actually tapped Ella because Ella had... not Ella, sorry. Alicia.
And Alicia tapped Dorian.
Yeah, because Alicia spun out and then Dorian was right there. So Dorian kind of hit the back tire. But Dorian was really lucky that she didn't pick up any damage from that. Yeah. Very, very lucky. Alicia, unfortunately, had to end up, I think she had to go to the pits. Or was she able to?
No, I think she just spun out. So she rejoined in the back. But then almost immediately after, we had Matilda Patz, the wild card. She lost control over the car. She spun out in front of everybody and unfortunately ended up hitting Ava from Australia. And so she knocked both of them out. So they both DNF'd, which was such a heartbreak. So that was our first safety car. Second safety car, Leah Block crashed into the back of Rafaela Ferreira.
Yes.
She had too much speed. Maybe it was the draft situation again, or she didn't anticipate the braking so soon. They crashed into each other's back. Unfortunately, Rafaela Ferreira, during her spin, also took out Aurelia Nobles.
Who's probably the most unfortunate F1 Academy driver this season, because
so heartbreaking.
She has had so many DNFs and none of them were her own fault. They were all errors by other people, and she's just the one, getting caught up in the sauce. It's so unfortunate.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. So Leah Block ended up out of the race because of that. And then what else happened? I know Nida Gademan ended up getting a 10-second penalty. Trying to remember what she got the 10-second penalty for.
Because she spun Emma Feldermeyer.
Oh,
She spun her. She essentially was going into the hairpin, and she was trying to take the inside line, which was never on.
No.
Unless you
really
slow
wasn't.
down so much.
Yeah.
And then, so she ended up hitting the back tire of Emma, spinning her around, essentially ruining her race.
Yes.
However, then Emma ended up hitting someone else later.
Yes, because she did essentially what Leah Block had done.
Yeah.
But she ended up, I forgot who she ended up hitting. She ended up hitting... Was it
Chaconte?
Oh, Chaconte. Yes, the Haas.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that happened. That brought out the third safety car, which that's how the race ended up finishing, because they also just raced 17 laps. Yeah. We did all go through all this madness. We had some really great racing in the front. Dorian had lost a couple of positions at the beginning after she was hit by Alicia Palmovsky, but she was able to pass then both of her teammates, Nina Gademan
and Tina
Hausmann. So she made it up to third position, and she had some really close battling, or she was getting closer and closer to Ella Lloyd. Ella Lloyd was really, really close to Chloe, and I think I truly believe that the safety cars definitely, helped Chloe for sure. Maybe even protected her win because Ella Lloyd seemed to have an incredible pace.
So I like to believe that I think Chloe would have maybe been able to defend it because of Dorian. Because Dorian would have then caused troubles for Ella. And they would have maybe wasted each other's time.
Okay.
So that's what I'm thinking. But otherwise, if Dorian would have not been as close, then I would have been like, ooh, this is a lot of. Maybe there would have been like back and forth between them.
Yeah.
But because Dorian was so close before the safety car came out, and then I will say, so the second restart from Chloe wasn't as good as the first one because she essentially did it at the same spot. But I think it's also like she probably is like, well, fuck, where do I do it?
Well, I think she did it like just maybe like 5 meters or so later. I think she should have waited until she was all the way through the chicane and then could have done it maybe.
Yeah, it's tricky.
But it's 100% it's tricky. Like, who am I to say it as like an outside person? But yeah, so I think that definitely didn't work for her. But the third safety car definitely protected her.
I will say also outstanding. Tina Hausman had her best F1 Academy finish in P4.
Yes.
Then we also had Chloe Chong's best F1 Academy finish in 5th. And then really, really big from Maya to stay out of all of the trouble that happened.
Yes.
And finishing in 6th when you started in 15th.
Yes. And also, Alicia Palmovsky ended up making it all the way till 7th. Because remember at the beginning of the race, she had the little incident. She ended up all the way in the back. And she made it all the way up to 7th. I'm very much looking forward to just continue seeing all of them race. But I definitely have an eye on Alicia. I have an eye on Alba Larsen also. Because I'm excited that both of those are rookies. So I have something to look forward to for next season.
Okay, so we've talked about this real quick before we finish this up. That like I said, like, oh, I wish they could at least do a third season because, like, for example, Aurelia Nobles, right, the most unfortunate driver of the season. So many races where she gets like taken out and it's not her fault.
Yeah.
And and there's also no avoiding actions that she can take unless she was like, I'm just not gonna drive today.
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn, I wish she could have gotten another season. So if we can't get that, I would like for them to maybe add another weekend or two.
That I like.
Yeah.
I would like a couple more race weekends to have the women race.
Especially because I get that they're racing usually on weekends when F2 and F3 are not there. But I think there are more weekends that are available. So maybe if we can add like 2 more weekends, that would be awesome.
Yeah, but then it's of course also a financial question.
Of course, I get it, but I'm hoping maybe with the Netflix show, maybe there's more money coming in. So yes. Now, do you want to tell us about the driver standing?
Yes. So we have Dorian is now the new championship leader with 109 points. She made up excellent points over this weekend. She was scoring every day. She landed on the podium twice out of the 3 races.
One time top step.
Yes, and then one time third step, and then the last one, she missed it by just 1 position.
Yeah.
Then in second place, now we have Chloe Chambers with 89 points. So there's a 20-point difference at this moment. And then in third place, we have Maya Weug with 72 points. Fourth, we have Ella Lloyd with 67. And then in fifth, we have Alicia Palmovsky with 53 points. I think there's definitely still movement there. I mean, Dorian has a great lead right now. If her car continues to work as is, I think she definitely has a really high chance of taking the overall championship. But the championship battle is not yet over. So we'll see. And I also think...
Because we have 2 for 6 more races.
Yes, we have 3 more race weekends, 6 more races. And I also think there's still going to be some interesting movement within the overall driver championship because we have a lot of people that are very competitive.
Yes, I will say, of course, Dorian really like having like over 30 points between her and Maya is, of course, devastating for Maya for coming in leading the championship essentially by 1 point.
Yes.
And then now coming in your third, 2 people overtook you, and even between you and second place, there's 17 points now. That's devastating.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking because she's really great.
She's great,
it was
and she's
so not her fault.
Yeah, and unfortunately, she is in her second season too, right? So very, very upsetting.
Yeah. So next up we have Sanford. They have a little bit of a summer break now, so they will be back
like a month and a half.
August, end of August, last weekend of August. They will be back in the Netherlands, which is nice. Of course, they have lots of time to prep. A lot of these women are also competing in different F4 or Formula Regional championships, so they will still be in the car.
Yeah, because in those championships, you don't have to essentially sign up for the whole season. You can also just do like races.
Yes.
So I think they said Emma Feldermeyer is now in F4 Spain. She's done some races. Then we have, I think, Alba Larsen. She is in the UK.
I think Ella Lloyd is for sure in the UK one. Also,
Dorian is Frecka.
Yeah, Frecka, which she did last year too.
Yeah.
So this is someone, I don't know if all of the women are racing, but they'll hopefully have opportunities to be in the car or at least in front of the sim and just work out and prep physically and mentally for it. But I'm definitely looking forward to the next round.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yep. So I think this will wrap up this episode of our podcast, the two-parter.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, hit that follow. Leave us 5 stars if you are so kind. And then thank you guys so much. I will need some rest now.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. We're going to recover from this race weekend now. So thank you. Bye.
Bye.